Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinema Flow podcast. I'm your host, Zach Abdulbaki, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Miss Chandler Levack. She is a Canadian writer and director who has two major feature films that are about to be released on the same day, April 17th. First up, we have Roommates, which is an R-rated teen comedy about a hopeful, naive college freshman named Devon who asks a cool, confident girl named Celeste to be her roommate, seeing a blossoming friendship spiral into a war of passive aggression. Roommates is produced by Adam Sandler and stars Sadie Sandler, and it will be available on Netflix April 17th. Now, please welcome to the show the director of Roommates, Miss Chandler Levack. How are you doing today, Chandler?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thank you for taking the time. I really enjoyed both of your movies. First, we're going to talk about Roommates, and then we'll jump into Mile End Kicks. But for Roommates, can you tell us how did this film come about? How'd you get involved with it?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of during the editing of Mylan Kicks. I was sort of deep in the fine cut of my film, and I got this like crazy call from my agent that was like, "When we signed you, who did you say you want to most work with in the entire world?" And I was like, "Adam Sandler," and they were like, yeah, well, he saw my first film, I Like Movies." And he loved it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is insane. And so they're like, read this script, and if you like it, he's gonna call you on the phone tomorrow. And I was like, I just like was completely shocked because like nothing had ever happened to me like that in my career. And I read the script and I really loved it. I was really genuinely surprised by all the crazy twists and turns of the movie. And then yeah, and then we talked, and I was so nervous to talk to him, but we instantly hit it off, and I felt really, really comfortable with him. You know, I think he has that way of just making people feel instantly very comfortable. And then 2 days later, I was like pitching the movie to Netflix with him in like a Beverly Hills hotel.
Wow, that's
So it just
awesome.
kind of was this roller coaster where like I was also trying to finish Mylan Kicks at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. And I have some cousins who live in Canada, and one thing I love about you guys is that the government like subsidizes movies. That's how I Like Movies got made, if I'm not mistaken, with Telefilm.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how that led to this. And I would have thought like Mile End Kicks had something to do with you getting roommates, but no, it was straight from the first movie.
I know. I mean, I feel like that's just like a testament to Adam. Like he really is like a cinephile, and he just like Jeremiah Zager, who did Hustle. Like he saw his, super independent film, We the Animals, at like South by or something, and just like knew he could do Hustle. Like I don't think there's, Roommates was like a $30 million movie, and I Like Movies was the budget was like $200,000 like American. So I think for him to see that movie and just sort of see my potential and be like, oh yeah, she can do like a scene with 300 extras, like no problem. Like I she can do crane shots and explosions and like fire. Like I was like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, and I think it was just him believing in me and so much that I was like, well, Adam Sandler says I can do it, so okay.
Yeah, no, for real. And he trusted you with his daughter. That's a big thing for him to trust you. And she's great. This scene with right after spring break, I'm not going to spoil, but there's a
Oh,
very sad moment. She broke my heart. She's so great.
I know. She's so exceptional in that scene. I was like, and she was just like, give me a minute. And I was like, okay. And then she just showed up on set and like was just in that emotional state and just stayed in it for like, I don't know, we probably did like 3 or 4 takes of it. And I was just like, yeah, I was completely devastated and amazed by like what an incredible actor she is. I mean, she just in that moment, but also just in general in the film, I think it's really hard to lead a movie like that when you're like in every single shot of the film, basically. And she really, she was so great.
Yeah, she really took to the challenge. And I want to talk about the story because I mean the movie is super funny. I love how unhinged and R-rated it is. But it had great themes and a great character arc. Can you tell me like what drew you in with the story? Because this is the first film you've directed, but you haven't written. So
Yeah.
what about it did you love and made it personal for you?
Well, I'm surprised that there's not more movies about the first year of college, because that to me is like such a weird time in your life where like you are pretending that you're an adult, you've never lived away from home before, you're suddenly thrust into this like completely weird environment where like you're just basically begging strangers to be your friend. You're like trying to reinvent yourself, but you have no idea who you are, and like everything is just so new. And so I think that's like such an incredible, like, weird cocktail of emotions to kind of like make a film about. And so that's what really drew me in, because I remember my first year of university when I was like drinking a bottle of Malibu with like three girls, and like anyone, I was like, you like Modest Mouse? Like, let's be friends, please. Like you're just like that level of like desperation, but also like you're so open and you're so, I don't know, like I always find that like a really interesting breeding ground, for a character. And so yeah, that's what appealed to me. And also just kind of like this complicated nature of like female friendship, and kind of like tracking a female friendship that was kind of like a horrible, wonderful love story. Like that to me was really fascinating, because yeah, I've had some really close female friendships that have felt as like devastating and epic as like any kind of romance. And I thought the way that the movie talked about, making friends in university, and just like all of these like great themes for any kind of story, like your first love, your first heartbreak, being away from home. I love the family relationship and the dynamics with the family so much. Like I just thought it was a really, really funny, great script.
Absolutely. And they always say they don't make enough R-rated studio comedies. I agree with that. It's like my favorite genre. And this,
Mhm.
I remember when Booksmart came out and I loved it. And I
Yeah.
was like, we need more of this. So this felt like finally getting back to that. And I agree about everything you said about the first year of college. Like weirdly, this movie felt nostalgic. I feel like college doesn't change that much as time goes on. There's a lot of similarities for like every generation.
Yeah, like I think we did try to, specifically make it reflect kind of like the Gen Z experience. And certainly Sadie and like the younger castmates like Jaya Harper and Bella Murphy were really, and Chloe were really invaluable in kind of being like, no, we wouldn't wear that, or like that's not how people talk, or like you wouldn't send it on Instagram, you'd send it as a snap. And I'm like, okay. Um
Yeah, like the details are specific to like Gen Z, but the universal themes of like dealing with the roommate is, I feel like every generation can relate.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's such a weird thing, like to be like in a room with a total stranger and you like sleep side by side in beds like every at like probably the most like discombobulating time of your life. Like I don't know, like why isn't there more comedies about it? It feels like a no-brainer to me.
Absolutely. And I feel like this is a great movie for parents to show their kids before sending them off to college, because there are some great lessons to be learned here. Like when Devin's on FaceTime with her parents complaining about Celeste, and her dad says, "Well, have you tried talking to her?" And she's like, "No, that would be so weird," which is a funny line, but I think it's true that a lot of people have trouble communicating and having difficult but necessary conversations. I feel like that's honestly one of the biggest lessons that people learn in college is to like set boundaries with people. So I'm wondering if you could speak to that theme and some of the lessons that you think kids might learn from this story, or even adults.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. That would be such a dream if like parents watched it with their kids, and if girls watched it in their dorms with their roommates. Yeah, I mean, I think what's so incredible about Devin's arc and the way that Sadie also plays her is that you see a person that really comes into their own, and at the beginning is like so, consumed with like what other people think, and just wants to very earnestly have a best friend, and is trying to find her place in the world, but also kind of a bit of a doormat. But she has such a lovely family and like warmth around her. And to see her kind of take her power back and is really special. And yeah, I think I don't know what the lessons are. Maybe just like what you're saying about communication and boundaries, and kind of like telling people how you honestly feel. But I think she tries and fails to do that throughout the movie, like we all do. And she is dealing with a pretty formidable person.
That's true. It's like everyone in her life is pretty good except this one demon. Celeste. But I love her character arc by the end because, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but I love the ending because
Yeah,
it shows that she knows how to stand up for herself now,
it's
um,
true.
and have those necessary conversations and set the expectations correctly with people who come into her life. I was wondering, have you had any crazy roommate experiences, and what is your advice to people who might have a Celeste in their lives?
I feel like I was always the bad roommate, like accidentally accidentally like leaving too many dishes in the sink or you know, haphazardly like leaving my laundry places I shouldn't and stuff. So I don't know. I live alone now, and I think that's probably better for everyone. I'm like trying to like save people from myself. So I don't know advice for roommates. I mean, I think yeah, I think it's just about being like honest. I always say the biggest problems with roommates are dishes and boyfriends. Like so if you can get a firm grasp on those two things, then you're okay.
Devin is so relatable. And I noticed this between both of your movies. Your protagonists just feel like real people, sort of like a Linklater movie. You know how,
Oh, that's my favorite. Thank you. That's the highest praise. I love him.
yeah, I feel like this is like your School of Rock or your Everybody Wants Some. And then Mylan's
Whoa.
Kicks is like his more early stuff.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
Dazed and Confused or my Before Sunset or
Yes.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the before
Or
movies.
Before Midnight.
But yeah, can you talk about working with Chloe East? Because she's great in Fablemans. People may know her as the church girl, but she's takes such a turn here. She's like, she reminds me of Megan from Drake and Josh, like just very evil.
God, Chloe is just a phenomenal actor with like endless range and can do anything. And I was just, you know, constantly in awe of like her ability to be so effortlessly funny in this movie and just even her physicality of the way she would like not even be able to like take off a jacket or like, you know, the way she was always like leaning on things and kind of like crouched into these incredible positions. Like it was just amazing to me and she's so brilliant and she's also like an incredible cinephile. Like she genuinely loves going to, you know, movies in LA and it's just like really devoted to cinema too. So I think I was just like completely enamored with her and just like I didn't really I just wanted to let her kind of cook fundamentally.
Well, did you guys do a lot of improv on set? Because Adam Sandler, I've heard does that in some of his movies, but also, maybe the script was just perfect. You guys stuck to it.
It was kind of like a combination, I would say. Like there was some ad-libbing or some takes where I'd be like, you know, do we want? But for the most part, I think he likes to like get the script and then kind of like run with it and play around and try like different alts or different lines and just experiment. But yeah, I think we felt like just the kind of natural dynamics of those two girls together. They had such amazing chemistry. It kind of felt like you could use the script as a blueprint and whatever they were going to do would be awesome.
Yeah. You also have a great supporting cast, including Sarah Sherman, Nick Kroll, and Natasha Lyonne as the parents, Storm Reid, Janeane Garofalo, Carol Kane, and a few cameos I won't spoil. What was it like working with this many famous people in an ensemble cast? Were you nervous at all, or was it just like, no, you've been through this, you got it?
No, I was like totally nervous. And like, yeah, every week I'd be like, oh my God, another person that I'm completely obsessed with. And also casting this movie. I mean, I would just suggest those people because I've loved them my entire life. But then it's to actually have to be able to work and collaborate with them was like incredibly exciting as a comedy fan and as a movie fan. Like my casting director, Mary Vernew and Sydney Shercliffe, who cast like Euphoria. And, you know, I've worked with like Darren Aronofsky on all of his movies. Like they're really, really incredible. And so it was kind of like a dream for me to just be like, they're like, who, what about the teacher? And I'd be like, what about Janeane Garofalo? They're like, she's available. And I'm like, what? And yeah, Nick and Natasha like as Devin's parents and Ada Langford her plays her brother who's I think so wonderful in the movie and like a new discovery. Like it was really great to build up that family dynamic. But yeah, like the day that like Carol Kane came to set, I was like, oh my God, like trying not to like fangirl out. And she was so warm and just loving and like, you know, it was, yeah, it was just kind of a dream. I'm really proud of Nick. I think Nick kind of like almost walks away with the whole movie. Like he's so great. And so does Sarah. I mean, everyone just kind of like does their thing. And I like the casting, I think, in this movie is like fundamentally just like so great. Like everyone is really, really funny and special. Martin Hurley, he's so funny. Billy Brick, who plays Devin's love interest, I think is like also just a really wonderful actor.
I always wanted to see Sarah Sherman in a movie because she's so funny on SNL. So I'm glad we
Yeah.
finally got like, or I hope she's also the lead in a movie one day. She's so good.
Oh yeah, she's such a star. And so is Storm Reid, who was just so wonderful in Euphoria. And it's like fun to see her in a comedy.
Yeah, I love the framing device in this movie with Storm Reid and the girl from Anora.
Ivy
Uh,
Woke, yeah, she's also just like such a genius stand-up comedy icon to me, and I just love her.
yeah, I love some of the running gags in this movie, by the way. Like the gay robot, the Polaroid string lights, and the guy who's always jealous, and you pay it off in like the end with the
Yeah.
firefighter.
Yeah.
What was your favorite running gag?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, it was funny like in the process of creating them because like some of those things like they weren't written into the script and then we just kind of like discovered them in the edit that like we would do a test screen and be like, "Wow, people really like died laughing at that. Let's try that again." And like they would just be like suggestions or alts, you know. And some of them were just jokes like we added in like ADR, like where you're just an actor says it, you're not even shooting anything. And it would be funny to see like how that would be like some of the biggest laughs in the movie. And so it really taught me a lot about comedy and just like, you know, I think I always thought like to like I didn't know about like the power of like repeating a joke over and over again, which is a very SNL thing, you know, to do, and how sometimes things get like funnier when like the audience recognizes them. So that kind of taught me a lot about, yeah, just like comedy writing and screenwriting.
The biggest compliment I can give is that I laughed at home. I wish I could see it in a theater, but it's going to be great on Netflix. It's going to reach a huge audience, but it's hard to make me laugh at home alone, and you did. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching, well, I mean, I grew up watching Adam Sandler movies and they totally like formed such a deep part of my like comedic sensibility and there's lines from like The Wedding Singer and Billy Madison like I just they just like reverberate in my brain. But I also grew up watching movies like Clueless and you know, Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Mean Girls and you know what was really exciting to me was just like making kind of like a generational like teen comedy and in the very much in the spirit of like how those movies used to be and feel and having like an earnestness and like a truth and an authenticity to it but also having like very hardcore jokes you know and trying to subvert it in whatever way that we could with like a little bit of like a pseudo feminist like point of view. So yeah, I'm really what I also think is just so amazing about Adam and also collaborating with his family is that he very much genuinely wants to tell like stories that his daughters can relate to and see themselves in. And so both daughters have their own movies coming out this year with female filmmakers like at the helm of them. You know, Roommates is coming out first, but then there's this also this incredible movie starring Sadie Sandler that's coming out later this year called Don't Say Good Luck. That's written and directed by Julia Hart, and that movie is like a devastating drama that's like unlike anything they've ever done before. And so, yeah, I mean, Adam could literally do anything he wants with his career, but it's so cool that he's, you know, kind of investing in like telling stories about young women, like helmed by, you know, emerging like female and non-binary filmmakers because he certainly doesn't have to do that.
Absolutely. It's more authentic because he's giving a chance to a female director to tell the story, and that's going to make it very authentic to all the, female audience members. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he genuinely like just loves his daughters and his family so much, and he cares so much what they think is funny and interesting and cool and relevant, and just like wants to really make great films that they see themselves in and that they, you know, their friends can relate to and stuff. So like he is like actively like being like, what music do you like? Like, you know, what can we do to like make this a film that you're proud of, Sadie? Like, you know, so I think that was awesome. Like Sadie had a lot of like authorship in the creative process of this movie too. Like she was watching edits, she was like giving feedback on the script. She was you know, she has like a associate music supervisor credit. She picked a lot of the songs like and made playlists for the film. Like she so it was really exciting to like work with someone who is also literally in their first year of college, like while we're, you know, making this film too, because like you have someone who's like literally living the experience like while you're about to shoot it.
100%. And I think Seth Rogen once said for Superbad that the reason it's authentic is because he was involved at a very young age. So he had that perspective. So it's nice to have that from Sadie, who's actually 19 and not like a 30-year-old pretending to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be a huge hit on Netflix. Everyone can watch it on April 17th, and they can make it a double feature with your other film, Mile
Mhm.
and Kicks, which is a romantic comedy starring Barbie Ferreira as Grace, a young woman who moves from Toronto to Montreal with the goal of writing a book about Alanis Morissette's album Jagged Little Pill, but instead becomes romantically involved with two members of an indie rock band and takes a job as the band's publicist. Mile and Kicks will be released in movie theaters on April 17th. It's amazing. Everyone should go check it out. Can you tell us about where the idea for this movie came from? You were a music critic in real life, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just kind of comes from like the, harrowing parts of my life that were also very joyous and fun. I moved to Montreal in the summer of 2007. I didn't write a book about Alanis Morissette, but I guess I wanted to. And it kind of was at this time in Montreal when like really there were so many exciting bands that were emerging. I saw like the first shows by like Grimes and Mac DeMarco in these tiny, lofts with like 75 people. And it was just like tremendously exciting as a fan of music. And also just as someone who like was just meeting like really cool, interesting artists. And I think I guess the inspiration for the film is that like I really love romantic comedies and I kind of wanted to do like a very classic kind of like love triangle romantic comedy. Like Reality Bites is a big one of my favorite movies, but I also kind of wanted to talk about, I guess, my own experiences and things I'm interested in, which is kind of the idea of like, why do women take guys in bands? Like, is it because we want to be a guy in a band?
That was a great point. And it's a very original romantic comedy, and I think it's very specific because it's personal, and I love that about it. I think there are some parallel themes. Like I could see a bit of an
Mhm.
arc where Barbie's character Grace is sort of standing up for herself at the end of the movie. But I also really loved the cinematography choices in this movie, and I noticed that
Oh,
you
thank
used
you.
a widescreen aspect ratio, like 2.35, if not mistaken, which is different than the much taller aspect ratio for Roommates. I think that was like 1.85. Can you talk about those choices and how you crafted the look and feel for each movie and made them different?
Yeah. Well, I feel very lucky. I got to work with two genius cinematographers on both films. Jeremy Cox, who shot Mylan Kicks, he just shot Backrooms for A24, and he is just an absolute gem of a person, but also he's just like a true, really brilliant artist. And yeah, I'd never shot anamorphically before with anamorphic lenses, but there was something so cool about having all this like extra space on like the sides of the frame to kind of like whether that was like telling more jokes or kind of building out a world with like production design, like in a messy bedroom where you see like, oh yeah, there's like half finished poutine on that bed, um or I think because I have a background in music videos, like really kind of applying those skills to like the band performances, because there's a lot of musical performances in the film as well. But it just felt like, her world is like so big and just opening up that like having this like 2:3:5 aspect ratio is really exciting. And in my first feature, I like movies, the aspect ratio is like 1:3:3. So it's like very tiny because he's in high school and he's kind of like boxed in and like trapped in his world. And then all of a sudden she's like flying out to like this big immersive like beautiful time in like Montreal in summer. And then with Roommates, my cinematographer was Maria Rushi, who shot Shiva Baby and Bottoms, and is just like an extraordinary DP and so thoughtful about story and filmmaking, and just had a lot of great perspectives on what their initial ideas were for the project. And we looked at a lot of films like The Holdovers and like Mike Nichols' Carnal Knowledge and sort of movies set in dorm rooms. And I think the challenge for us was like, how do you make a dorm feel cinematic? Like, how do you make this movie feel exciting when so many, when there's several scenes that are like kind of in this one tiny space. And so 1:6:6 felt like a really great aspect ratio because that way you could see like you always see like the posters, like on the walls. And when you're framing college buildings, like you want to see them kind of from like top to bottom, and you want to see like the spire of that dorm because it kind of pays off later and stuff. So we kind of felt like we were always missing like the tops of shots if we went any less. So that's why it's 166. And then that's also the same aspect ratio that the holdovers was shot on, and we used the same camera and lenses as the holdover. So we just got very holdovers pilled, and that's why we did that.
That's awesome. And I also I feel like this is a great year for Canadian cinema because we just had Nirvana the band, the show, the movie. In fact,
Absolutely.
I had Matt Johnson on the show to talk about that film, and I noticed him in the credits in this one as an executive producer. Can you talk about his contributions to the film and what was it like working with Zapruder Films? I think they gave you like a grant to develop the script, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on this project with Matt Johnson and Matt Miller, who's the lead producer of the project, along with Pat Kiley and Julie Grulot from Montreal. But Matt, I've been developing this script with him since 2016, so he has been like a very huge aspect of it for like a decade, and never gave up on it, never gave up on me. The initial start of the project was I won this screenwriting grant for female filmmakers in 2016. And as a result of that, they gave me a story editor. And that was incredibly invaluable because Joe Golick and I would work on the script, and I probably wrote like 30 drafts of it before, we decided to try and get it made in 2018. And it didn't happen. And then Matt's suggestion was that I should make a Talent to Watch like micro budget first, and that was really the impetus of I Like Movies. It was kind of like the failure of Mylan Kicks not being able to get made that like made me make my first feature. And I'm so glad that it happened that way, because I wouldn't have had like this cast or team of collaborators, and I probably wouldn't have been able to shoot the movie in Montreal. And so it really happened the way that I think it was always meant to. But yeah, both Matts have just been like so generous with their time and instincts on the movie. You know, Matt Johnson, right before I went into production, we spent like 6 hours together just like talking about the script, and he really had some really incredibly valuable insight that helped a lot in the editing process. I think he also really helped me be less precious with like scenes that I wanted to include in the movie, because the movie was just too long. um but yeah, like both of them. And this is the first movie that Zapruder has produced that isn't like a Matt Johnson movie. And so, I think that they're just like really ingenious at what they do. And it's been so exciting to see the whole world get obsessed with this tiny web series that I've been watching since I was, 20 years old. And it's really put Toronto on the map. So I just feel very excited to be part of like, their legacy in filmmaking, because I think they continue to make such exciting and wonderful movies.
Absolutely. And it's so nice to see more Canadian filmmakers succeed.
It's funny that because I feel like every year there's like, Canadian movies that just completely bust out and just prove time and time again that like, or the industry that's like really worth watching. And I think this year with the success of like Heated Rivalry and Nirvana the band, the show, the movie, and there's some incredible debuts by and second features by female filmmakers this year in Canada, like Grace Glowicky's Dead Lover and Sophie Ramvari's Blue Heron, like that are just like getting a lot of attention also on kind of the world stage. And so I think it just like indicates that, yeah, like this is not like a trend or just a little, blip. It's like Canadian cinema is really asserting itself, at a time when like Donald Trump literally wants to like make our country part of America, like that we're not, going anywhere. And like Canadian culture is like really fundamentally here to stay. And I'm just so proud to be a part of that community and continuum in like whatever way that I can.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to everything that you do next. Last question. Which should people watch first? Mile and Kicks or Roommates?
Yo, that's a good question. And I haven't even thought about that. Myling Kicks is kind of heavy. So maybe you want to do Myling Kicks and then a roommate's chaser.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, what do you think the name should be? Should it be like Roomin Kicker or
That's a good one.
Island Mates? Or
Mile and Mates.
if you had to brand it with kind of like an Barbenheimer
Yeah.
sort of thing?
Mile and Mates sounds really cool. I
Okay.
I did the opposite. I watched Roommates first and then Mile and Kicks.
And how is that for you?
It
Do
was
you think
great.
that's Is that the recommended order?
It was great, but actually, I think I agree with you. Let have roommates be the chaser. Lighter one. Oh,
Yeah.
and I fully expect your fourth and fifth movie to come out on the same day.
That's how I'm doing it from now on.
Yep, yeah, and then hopefully we'll have you back on the show to talk about those. Because I look forward to everything you're doing. You do next. You're
Oh,
a
that's
great
so
filmmaker.
kind.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about it is that people have no excuse. They can watch one. Like even if they're like, I'm tired, I don't want to go to the theater. I'm like, you don't have to, baby. Just watch it on Netflix. There's another one right there.
That's awesome. I mean, they're both great.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this episode. I want to remind the audience to please go watch Mile End Cakes in movie theaters on April 17th and then fire up Netflix and watch Roommates on the same day. It's a fantastic double feature, Mile End Mates. Before we go, where can people find you on social media so they can keep up to date with everything you have going on?
Oh God, I'm scared. Don't look at my social media. It's so weird. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, and my name is Levack. So you can find me there.
Awesome. There will be a link to that in the description. And that does it for today's episode of the Cinema Flow podcast. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.